Yo, my peoples, what's up? My name is Jason, and I'm from the Shelf Stories YouTube channel, and I'm here in the Dice Tower today to review Flourish. This one is published by Starling Games, designed by James Wilson and Clarissa Wilson. It is a card drafting game for 1 to 7 players, competitive mode, cooperative mode, with a motif of building up your garden. Without further ado, let's go to the videotape. So before I get into the review for Flourish, this is something that every reviewer should cover when they talk about this game, which is the product model. So this is constructed, these dividers, to contain all of these components. You can see that this is prefabricated cardboard. You can put together a whole bunch of stuff. And you have a lot of little buildings to construct right there. So I'm just going to show you a couple. Here is a rose building. Here is, I'm guessing that's the mushroom building or something like that, going up against the walls. This game does a lot in terms of its product model to be as appealing as possible. And you can see these are the score tracks. The scores do go pretty high. So I have here laid out a 3-player game of Flourish. This game goes from 1 to 7, so it runs the gamut. It's competitive, it's cooperative, there's different modes that I'll show you in a bit. There's a lot that you get in the box. I could see there being like that, when there's so much, what exactly is the core experience? Well, I think the core experience is a high player count competitive game, which is what I'm showing you now. So then, I knocked over my little garden wall over there. Check those out. That's pretty snazzy stuff, continuing the Starling game tradition of giving you snazzy stuff in their boxes. Going to look at my cards. My cards are full of symbols and points and stuff on the bottom and stuff on the sides. It comes together pretty quickly. So these are the symbols, and they're just the things that you collect, right? And then these on top is the scoring that you are going to be doing based on the symbols that you collect at the end of each round. And then there are certain cards that will give you end game scoring conditions, but you don't have to worry about that, at least at the start. So this is a great card to begin with because it has a lot right there in front of you. I would get 1 point for every mushroom symbol, and then so I get 2 mushrooms right there. So just playing that card to get me 2 points right there. So I play a card, and I also pass 2 to the other players. So as an example of a consideration during play, I do not want to give my neighbor this card. So I'm basically giving them points. This means that one neighbor can score off of the symbols that somebody has. So if I gave that to my neighbor, they would score 2 points off of my mushrooms. Matter of fact, 4 points off of my mushrooms, 2 points each. Get out of here. I'm not passing you. I'm going to pass you some other cards. So put those cards in there. And that is going to be the turn. And then this player would do the same thing, would play a card and take 2 and pass them over to the other side. They'd play a card and then pass 2 to me, and you'd shuffle those up, and that would be a turn of Flourish. All right, so I have fast forwarded and repositioned things just a little bit for clarity, and I have fast forwarded to the end of the round in which I played 3 cards. So then these 3 cards I just score them at least on top. So then I would get for 1 point or 1 point each for every mushroom twice. So that'd be 4 points right there. I did not score the blue flower, but I get 2 points. I ended up playing this card because my opponent played a card like that. So I would get 4 points from them playing. I would pick the neighbor, and I picked this neighbor to score their mushrooms. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points for the round. I would indicate that on my handy dandy score counter. 8, and then I'll proceed to the next round, and then play would proceed to the next round in which another 3 cards be played, another round of drafting. You get 3 cards, 3 cards, 3 cards, 9 total cards we played exactly this way, with the playing 1, passing 2. So keeping in mind that you will be scoring the tops of these cards after every round, and that will accumulate. So this player will assume I will play more roses. This rose that got played in the first round will count second round scoring, third round scoring, at least for this top level. All right, so I have fast forwarded yet again. This is a game of Flourish after 3 rounds. During that 4th round, you're going to change up the mojo a little bit. You're going to have 5 cards in your hand, and you're going to look down, you're going to play 3 of them, just play them. So I have them in a 3x3 grid. It doesn't even matter, at least in the base game, where they go. So I can just kind of put cards here, card there, card there. I would score the top rows, again, checking my neighbors, seeing what they have, and then there would be a separate phase where I would score the bottom row. So this is tends to be a little bit more points, kind of final game scoring, and your scores will generally be in the hundreds, which is why the score tracker has 3 spaces. So as I said before, this game has a cooperative mode. I think competitive is where it's at in terms of the core gameplay, but if you were interested in cooperative mode, it's the same exact game, only you're going for a certain score threshold depending on the number of players, and if you hit the bronze, not so bad, but if you hit the gold, woohoo, there you go. 2-player Flourish is basically exactly the same as the higher player counts, only whenever there's a passing of the cards, you just pass to your neighbor, and there is scoring that would depend on multiple neighbors. It would just key off of you and your neighbor. It's a very, very simple thing to kind of bring this game down to 2 players. Solo mode, you are going to be playing against a bot called McGregor. McGregor has 12 cards, or starts with 12 cards in his deck. Her deck could be a her. And so what you're doing is basically the same exact thing that you would do in the normal game. You're going to play a card, and then you're going to pass 2 cards over to the McGregor bot. The McGregor bot is going to play a random card, but then they're going to shuffle the 2 cards you gave them into their deck. So eventually you will get to know more and more of what's in McGregor's deck. This deck does not get new cards, so the players usually draw a card at the beginning of their round. McGregor does not draw cards, so to go from 11, 10, 9, 8, you become more and more familiar with what's in McGregor's deck, and you'll be able to build your tableau depending on what you think is McGregor's going to either play or pass back to you. So the box does come with a couple of variants. This particular variant, the ribbon variant, should come in future expansions of Flourish that don't have the expansions, the extra stuff in there. This should come with any basic game of Flourish. It is the ribbons, so everyone will get a ribbon, and you need to be the person who has the most of whatever symbol, and if you are, then you score 7 extra points. You play a couple of games in a row, and whoever has the most points after those few games will win the game. This is extra content that does come in a signature edition, which might not come in future editions of Flourish. It is the Friends expansion. So here you are. It's just more opportunities to score. You're going to score 5 points for every one of those symbols. 5 points for these are the kind of landscape symbols that come on the bottom of the cards. You also have opportunities to score based on the different flower symbols. There's just beautiful art all around in this game. So I know what you might be asking me at this point. What about all that cardboard you showed me at the beginning of the game? All right, here you go. This is the Follies expansion. So this is an extra mode, which changes up gameplay pretty significantly. You're doing the basic same things, laying out a garden. However, now it counts the adjacencies. So you have to be a little bit more spatially minded when you're laying out your garden. At the end of every round, you're going to be placing as many of these as you can and scoring extra points. So you're going to look for symbols, and you have to play the folly that matches that symbol. So then I have a rose over here. This would score 2 points. I can also manipulate things. I have a really juicy card over here, so I want to score the rose off of this, so it'd be like 2, 4, 6, 8 points because of the adjacency. Some more points here, 3 points because there's a card here that has no symbol on it. So I want to be able to place as many of these as possible throughout the course of the game. I cannot place multiple, so I couldn't do that. Oh, sorry about that. I destroyed my folly. I could not do that. For example, I would have to spread out and spread the follies as far and wide as I can. Any unplaced folly that I have at the end of my game is worth -5 points, but it is another. I think this one really mixes up the gameplay significantly by adding this spatial element and adding these very cool, very decorative follies pieces. So that was Flourish at the table, and I think the number one question that a gamer is going to have is, do I need all that God? Do I need all that stuff? You know, the gameplay is in the cards, and then there's going to be a whole bunch of just, cardboard to put together. And, could I have gotten this game, just the thinned down version of this game for like 20 extra bucks or whatever it is? I'll go right for it. I'll answer that question. For me, I didn't think that the base game was strong enough. I think that the game kind of needs a little bit of that God in order to be what it is. So the base game, we're talking about the the multiplayer, the 3+ player competitive mode. Cooperative mode, I could take or leave, and that was a disappointment for me because I'm a big cooperative gamer, one-stop co-op shop. I play cooperative games all the time, and it is not a lot of cooperation. It's a collaborative game. I'm going to talk about passing cards around. That to me is not cooperation. At least stuff in terms of pressing buttons that affect each other on the board. So a little bit disappointed in that particular mode. The core of the game is that competitive mode. It was okay. I think that it didn't do anything for me that like a Tide of Time didn't do. Tide of Time, tiny game, $10, but for 2 players. So I'm basically getting multiplayer Tide of Time, at least with the base game. That didn't excite me too much because I've been there, done that before with many card drafting games. So now we get into the God, the stuff that comes in there. So like you have those extra expansions. And I understand that the collector's edition is not going to be the edition every single person plays. I think that without that extra stuff, I don't know if I would recommend this game. It's okay, but let's get to the stuff that I am actually a little bit more excited about, which is the Friends expansion and the Follies expansion. So the Friends expansion just adds a little bit extra cards. Why not? Let's just it's very easy to slide in there. Very cool. The Follies, I think that's where I want to play this game. So do you need the cardboard? The game tells you in the rule book by calling it Follies. A folly is a construction in a garden that is purely for ornamentation. And if you're going to put follies in there, then they're going to be follies. They're going to be things that, I could I totally replace those things with like just chits or whatever it is to lower the cost. But I really think that they were well done. They're fun to put together, and having them, the carry case kind of hanging them together, as long as you don't turn the box sideways, should be okay. I think just having that extra little bit of pop, and it didn't take it to like $100. It's not like a Kickstarter minis fest or anything like that. It's it has that aesthetic appeal, which, can draw the eye. If I'm demoing this game, if I'm showing this game to people that, they just they don't play games necessarily, but they like that moment that catch the eye. Does that. I like that. On the board, on the table, adding that spatial element, right? So, now the card score, depending on where the adjacency is, I think I kind of needed that in order to say, okay, this is a game that I can, feeling good playing with, and it's a game that I can return to. Kind of don't want to play the regular drafting game. I kind of want to play with the adjacencies, and maybe that's just me as a gamer. I like having that spatial reasoning because I'm not a person that kind of like where the points are all in my head. I like knowing that the points are kind of like in rows so that I can kind of puzzle out and figure out where I'm going to go. I actually found my scores were higher, like legitimately higher. I know there's more scoring in the grid mode, but just legitimately higher because I felt like I grokked it better. So, I think that we're going to be a lot of gamers that just will prefer the base game because they just don't want all the folly and the fluff, and they like the core experience. That's not the way I go with this stuff. I really do go with the combination, I'll say, of having that aesthetic experience and also an improved game. I think with just the aesthetic experience without that grid, I'd be like, what are you doing? You're stealing my money. Or kind of wasting cardboard if you are that inclined. But having those both together in that extra mode in the signature edition, I have to specify it again, put this game to another level for me. The level of a 7 out of 10, seal of approval for me. This game is probably not going to be for everybody, but it just did enough to crawl over the finish line with those extra expansion pieces again in that bigger edition to take it over the line for me. So if you like my content, please go ahead and visit me further content at Shelf Stories. Shelf Stories is my channel where I play a lot of different cooperative games, talk to a lot of different designers and publishers and gamers about the kind of games that I like to play. Also card games. I mean, I'm just a huge card game fan, so I'm always talking about that kind of stuff too. I would really appreciate if you could stop by, drop a comment, or just wave hi. If you could change your mind, you could change the world. So until next time, bye everybody.